Super Rugby, guys. How good? Round 14, round 13, absolutely cracking games. Guys, standard video, so I'll give you my preview and predictions of all 5 games this weekend. And then suggest stick around till the end and I'll give you my summarised predictions if you just want to have a look at those. Guys, first up we have the Hurricanes versus the Highlanders at Sky Stadium in Wellington. I think firstly, if you look at the Hurricanes, from me, I quite like the look of them. And I think I say that because Ruben Love is making a considerable difference to the Hurricanes, I feel. Particularly his game management, and he's such a mentally tough player, isn't he? Like, he makes a mistake, doesn't faze him, but particularly you look at their Hurricanes, they're driving, their game management with him is so much more effective, combined with Duplessis, Karifia up in the forwards. They're bringing that physicality up front, and then obviously with that smart game management with Ruben Love, I really, really do like the look of the Hurricanes. You look at the Highlanders, they're there and thereabouts, aren't they? I've said before, Jamie Joseph has done a phenomenal effort with the Highlanders in 2025. There's some really good players, Tamatami Tavel, a number of quality players in the Highlanders, but I just think the key moments in the games, they're just not quite there. And particularly that game a few weekends back against Moana, the basically 10 minutes to go, charge down, and Moana beat the Highlanders. So they're pretty close. They're there and thereabouts. I just think, though, this game, obviously a home game for the Hurricanes, and, the Highlanders, they're there and thereabouts, but I just think this Hurricane side is almost turning a leaf. I really like the physicality they have up front. Ruben Love with his game management, and that Hurricanes backline is looking very dangerous, and their attack is looking very dangerous. So I'm going to go here, the Hurricanes at home, a 10-point win to the Hurricanes. I think it'll be close at half time, but Hurricanes too strong in the second half and to win it by 10. Let me know your thoughts on that down below, guys. Guys, if you're enjoying the content, please support the channel. Hit the subscribe button down below. Like the video. Chuck some banter down below about my preview and predictions and comments. And share it with mates to support the channel. Game 2, the Waratahs versus the Crusaders in Sydney. Ooh. Now, that will be an absolute belter. I think firstly you look at the Waratahs. They're close, aren't they? They're close, but they're not quite there. Obviously, they didn't get the result they would have liked against the Reds, but certainly that first half from the Waratahs against the Reds, they get their physicality up front. They shift the ball into space. They're capable of knocking over anybody on their day. I just feel it's just not consistent enough where required. Obviously, another big loss. I haven't heard anything more about Joseph Suaalii, but I imagine he'll probably be out for a couple of weeks anyway with a concussion, head to the knee. So that would have hurt a bit, I'm sure. So I think you look at the Crusaders. Interesting one there. Let me know your thoughts on the Crusaders. You guys think to date? I think if I had recorded this video 36 hours ago, I think I would have said the Crusaders were far better than what they are. But look, a couple of weeks back, they were absolutely magnificent against the Highlanders, as I've said. You look last night against the Chiefs, home game for the Crusaders. I thought they would have knocked over the Chiefs, but look, it just showed the Chiefs brought that physicality. They matched the Crusaders physically, and obviously a few injuries. Will Jordan went off, but the Crusaders just didn't seem to be able to keep up with the physicality and intensity required to beat the Chiefs. And ultimately, quite a comprehensive victory to the Chiefs in the end. So they're good, the Crusaders, but, again, let me know your thoughts on them. Maybe they're not quite the finalists like Super Rugby champion side that we thought they were. Don't know, but certainly the Crusaders, they're impressive. Cody Taylor, Scott Barrett, he's getting some really good form now. And they'll be a good side. Their defense, the Crusaders is looking quite impressive. I think this one, even though it's at home in Sydney, I'm going to go the Crusaders to win this by 10 points. I think at half-time, again, I think it'll be close, but that Crusaders defence, I think, will hold the Waratahs enough, and the Crusaders will score the points when they need to. So let me know your thoughts on that prediction down below. Game number 3, the Drua versus the Western Force in Lautoka, Fiji. Woo! How good are these Fijian games, guys? Like, they're just awesome. Like, the conditions, whether or not it's bucketing down with rain or humidity, like, it's just awesome, these games in Fiji, guys, I reckon, anyway. You look at the Drua. I mean, where do you start with them? Look, on their day, they have genuine athletes, you know, physicality, speed to burn. They can offload 3-4 times. They can score a 110-metre try if they need to. But, you know, I just think that they're going missing at times in games. And look, you got to be honest, the Drua got hammered at home by the Blues. You know, I was quite surprised by that result. But particularly the Blues, they just brought that physicality up front. They really targeted them at the breakdown. Maybe a bit of an off night for the Drua, but they're still a quality, capable side. They bring the physicality on defence. As I said, they can carve anyone up at Super Rugby level on attack. But I think you look at the Western Force, and yeah, look, they've certainly struggled a bit away. The game against the Brumbies, I mean, a pretty comprehensive win to the Brumbies in the end. I just think that they're there and thereabouts, the Western Force, particularly some of their players like Harry Potter, Ben Donaldson. They're having really, really quality seasons, but it's just not consistent enough for the Western Force over the 80 minutes. And yeah, obviously a pretty comprehensive loss to the Brumbies. So I think this game, though, it'll be a cracker. It'll be close at home. But I just think that the Drua, I think that they probably have a big one in them due. You know, they got hammered at home by the Blues. They'll be hurting. I think the Western Force haven't travelled that well this year. They've got to go all the way from Perth to Fiji, which won't be easy for them. And yeah, I think that Western Force will struggle to hold the Drua defence. So let me know your thoughts on this one. The Drua to win this by 17 points. The next belter, Moana Pacifica versus the Blues in North Harbour, Auckland. You look at the Moana side. Look, I've got to be honest, I'm on a little bit of a Moana train. I really, really do like the way the Moana side is playing. Particularly the physicality they have in their forwards is really impressive. Like the Moana side, I'm confident they're capable of matching any Super Rugby sides physically. It's like the influence of Ardie Savea. You're seeing them being a lot more clinical, a lot more accurate, and that Moana side, if they shift the ball into space, they have absolute dynamite outside, whether they're doing chip kicks or spinning the ball into space, or they're a dangerous, dangerous side. I think you look at the Blues. Look, obviously Vern Cotter will be happy with a pretty comprehensive win over the Drua. They bashed them up front. They well beat the Drua at home at the breakdown. Their defence is quality, you know, physical. They work hard for each other. But the question I have to ask about them, and let me know your thoughts on this. Dominantly, their attack is physical up the middle, and I just question whether or not that they have the players to physically beat other teams enough in 2025. You know, I think particularly this game, the Blues try and take on the Moana side physically up the middle. I don't think they're going to beat the Moana side up physically up the middle. So, yeah, I think the Moana side will actually win this quite comfortably. I've got them getting up and beating the Blues by 15 points. Let me know your thoughts on that prediction, guys. The final one, the Brumbies versus the Reds at GIO Stadium in Canberra. Oof, this will be an absolute belter. A good old-fashioned Australian derby. Going to be awesome. I think firstly, if you look at the Brumbies, look, they had an awesome win against the Waratahs. For me, they're still my number one Australian side. They play so clinical, the physicality up front. They're so accurate with their attack execution, whether they're kicking in behind, grubbers, passing into space. they're a quality side with Stephen Larkham at the helm. It'll be interesting to see. I'm not sure what's happened with Noah Lolosio, if he's going to be injured out for a couple of weeks, so that will impact the Brumbies. And then you look at the Reds, again, they're a quality, well-drilled side. Les Kiss, you know, I've mentioned numerous times before, he is an absolute class coach. I think this game will be close. Even with Noah Lolosio, I think it'll still be pretty close. I really like the way the Brumbies are playing. I think close at half time, but I just think that Brumby side is so accurate. They'll execute their attack, and I have the Brumbies to win that by 7 points. So pretty close, but still the Brumbies to win by 7 points. Let me know your thoughts on that below, guys. And finally, some talking points on the Chiefs. Obviously, they've got a bye weekend this week, so yeah, it'll be interesting, that one. Will the bye week help the Chiefs re-energise and build into the playoffs? I mean, it's interesting. I'm sure there's probably a few banged up bodies, so that bye week will certainly help them. Yeah, interesting couple of weeks, though. You know, the Chiefs, they had such a big loss to the Hurricanes, completely outplayed, and then, you know, last night just completely outplayed the Crusaders at home in Christchurch. I think the big thing with there, you know, Damien McKenzie, he was phenomenal at first five. I think he's definitely turned a leaf. I think you look at him now as well, and he looks so much more mature. And his game management, he's getting the ball, he's looking to shift the ball into space, rather than, I think, in previous years, he'd get the ball and he'd try and cut the line or win the game himself. So, you know, his leadership, his game management is really improved on the prior year. Again, let me know your thoughts on Damien McKenzie down below. Guys, let me know your thoughts on these matches to date. Let me know your thoughts on my predictions down below. Chuck some banter. How good is Super Rugby this year? I am seriously enjoying it. Awesome games of rugby to watch, guys. And guys, if you've enjoyed this video, subscribe, like, and add any further comments, banter about the Super Rugby competition this year. Cheers.